Hello, hello, and welcome to the Rock Metal Podcast. I am your host, John Harris, and today on the Rock Metal Podcast, we have As We Suffer. They have a new album called The Fallen Pillars, which was released on April 30th, and right now I'm being joined by Matt to share some more info about this beautiful release. So, Matt, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely great to have you on. Now, my first question, Matt, is I'm looking at this artwork.
Yeah.
None of the pillars are fallen.
Well, there's one. There's one that's cracked there.
I'm also
more symbolic than anything else, yeah.
Okay. I'm also getting like a tarot vibe.
A little bit, eh? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. We commissioned the painting from a guy named Chris Thomas, and he's phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. I just basically said, this is the style we're looking for. This is sort of the idea of the album. Go nuts, kind of thing.
Okay. You know? So take us through that. What is the album? What are the Fallen Pillars?
The idea behind the Fallen Pillars comes from a friend of mine who came up with the concept. It's basically each pillar represents a truth. So a pillar that stands represents a truth. So the idea is if you have a belief, a thought, anything like that, the idea is you can imagine yourself with a sledgehammer hitting the pillar, and every hit is a counter belief or a counter thought. So the ones that stand tall are truth, and the ones that fall are not. Mm-hmm. And so the idea was each song represents the untruths or the destructive aspects of our society.
Okay. Now, unfortunately, I have to go to Dropbox here to find the titles for the
all good.
The Dropbox link is gone. I'm gonna have to complain to that little shit, John Asher. But I have. We
love you, John. I swear.
That's right. Well, I'm glad somebody does. Now, Carol, bless her heart. Now, there's a service called Holics that we use on the back end in the music industry, and I'm looking on Holics at the track. Okay, there we go. I found some track titles. It was like truncating some track titles on one section of it. So I'm taking a look at these to see if I can find in the track titles, where these elements exist. I'm not seeing it immediately. Is it in the lyrics? How did you guys portray?
Yeah, mostly in the lyrics. It's not like a traditional concept album that follows a narrative all the way through. It's not a story that you're following. It's sort of bits and pieces of as I was saying earlier, like the negatives, these fallen pillars. It shows up in Caustic Paradigm. I talk a bit about the pillars explicitly, and of course in the song, The Fallen Pillars, mm-hmm. I talk about them. But in terms of the other tracks, mostly it's just concepts. It's a little bit more abstract than being explicit about it. Okay.
Immediately I went to, Buddhism has 5 pillars or something like that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's several. There's something else too. Is there's like the pillars of democracy as well. There's a few images of pillars.
Yeah, I guess on a broader question, then, what are some of these pillars that we are attacking in this album? What are some of the ones that are the truth, and what are some of the ones that are falsity?
So the truths aren't really spoken about too much on the album because I tried to hone in on the sort of negative aspects, the more destructive aspects, and like they're throughout, and they're more abstract. So I dive into politics a bit with the lyrics, spirituality, some of the failures that we have as people treating each other. Those kinds of things. I go into religion a little bit here and there. So all of the negative aspects of each of these subjects is what I try and tackle.
Okay. Apparently we're doing something wrong as a society, Matt.
Well, Well, sometimes.
Sometimes, only sometimes.
Yeah.
I stand corrected. It's not 5 pillars in Buddhism. It's 8 pillars in Buddhism. Yeah, often portrayed as spokes of a wheel. I guess in that idea, it's not holding something up, but it's able to make the wheel move.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's very, very cool.
Yeah. Having the right, what if this is a translation error, the right understanding. I guess, I don't know, you could have the right understanding. The right intention, which makes sense. The right speech, the right action, the right livelihood. So I guess there goes politics and religion. The right, wow. The right effort, the right mindfulness, and the right concentration. That's interesting. In your idea, Matt, what's the difference between mindfulness and concentration?
Concentration is direction of awareness, versus mindfulness is just awareness in general. That's how I would probably see it.
Okay. Makes sense to me. Makes sense to me, Matt.
Excellent.
Deedly doozers. Speaking of having all your ducks in a row there, the right action. Mind me asking what it is that you're sipping away at with?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So it's, let me see if I can get that into focus there. It's a Zinfandel by Wente.
Mm-hmm.
Went? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's actually quite nice.
Okay. What is it that you like? Is it red Zinfandel, white Zinfandel?
Red.
Red.
Yeah, red, sure, yeah.
So just a regular old Zinfandel.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. What did you like about Zinfandel?
Very full-bodied, super jammy. Mm-hmm. Like it tastes like you're basically drinking fruits. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit spicy.
Yep,
I'm a fan of it. I used to own a wine store years ago, so I developed a taste for it.
That's a good way to put it. I would put that right there with Merlot. Like you have to find the right one and maybe get a taste for it. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
See, you ran a wine store. I imagine that would have been good business throughout the pandemic.
Yeah, you'd think, right? But we actually closed down before the pandemic. Like we were a brew on premise kind of place, so we made it from juice. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Did you get in local stuff? Because in Ontario, there's wineries. So did you guys get grapes in locally and then turn it into wine?
We got some juices from Ontario. It wasn't the mainstay, though. A lot of the stuff was imported from Italy and Spain, Australia, of course, and a lot of Californian as well. So it was like all over the place.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Was it like a restaurant as well? A gastro? No?
No. It was strictly wine.
Okay.
Strictly wine. Yeah.
Cool. Mind me asking what brought it down?
A couple of things. The industry for make your own wine was starting to go down about a year and a half before we actually closed. Mm-hmm. And so business, like we had our loyal customers who were always there and everything, but rent is high. It's hard to keep up with. And we just decided at one point we're just like, it's probably best at this point just to shut her down, however unfortunate. So that was basically it. It was just like noticing the trends in the market, noticing sales dipping. And more than anything, it was like we weren't seeing a lot of new people coming in.
Right.
No matter how aggressively we marketed or what have you.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Do you see any parallels to running that business to now running the business it is As We Suffer?
In terms of closing down, I hope not. But
no, but I mean, like, because if you treat both as a business,
which we do,
yeah. So, I mean, is there anything that you take from the wine business into As We Suffer?
Yeah. Being like owning a business, and it was a family business as well. It was my mother and I running it. What I gained from it is my work ethic that I have to this day. I really push hard, and when I take care of a lot of the marketing and everything for As We Suffer. So yeah, I would say that there's definitely parallels.
Mm-hmm. Cool. That's really neat, man.
I'm glad you think so.
Yeah, well, I mean, the business side of it is something I have started to get into with regard to the podcast, where I've recently I've had like record execs on the show, and I'm starting to do like power talk series, and it's amazing when chatting with bands at different levels, from just starting Starry Eyes up to bands who've been at it for a very long time, and then to the record exec side of it, how dry it quickly gets into show me your numbers. Show me your
Well, I can imagine. Yeah, I mean, like the way we're going about it is very guerrilla warfare. Like we're doing it all ourselves. We're on, apart from John Asher helping us out, we're doing a lot of that legwork. Like I'm on the phone with the people who are doing our vinyls and our CDs and that kind of stuff, and it's all us, right? Like our producer for the album, Joe Lyko from Darkmoon Productions. He just a little bit of a shout out to him. Hey! Hello.
My son Gabriel. I'll go ahead and change the background so that people can see him. Oh, there he goes.
Hey, what's up, bud? How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, Matthew?
I'm doing great. Absolutely great.
It's good to hear.
We're just talking about Darkmoon Productions, which is, I don't know, should I call them up and coming? I've been seeing a lot of bands, particularly in your area, working with Darkmoon, and I've had the opportunity anyway, to have a chat with quite a few bands who have been working with Darkmoon. So maybe take us a little bit more through that. Why did you choose them? What did they do for you? Are you happy?
Very, very, very happy. He was an absolute breeze to work with, actually, because this was as a collective, the band hadn't really done much in the studio at all. So we needed someone who was like going to be very patient with us, explain the ropes, and help us through the entire experience. Like we'd gone in to do a demo with a really good studio, Wolf Lake Studios, and they were excellent. But that was just for a quick demo kind of thing. We did that over a weekend. It was a very different experience choosing Joe for this one. And I met him in 2019. He's in a band called A Scar for the Wicked, and he was doing a show one night, and I was there meeting up with some friends, and I met him at a place called TheKoven in Ottawa, which is a heavy metal themed restaurant, which is pretty sweet. So I went in there, and I was sitting next to Cannabis Corpse, that band who was performing that night, and Joe walked in, and I met him, and I'd heard of him. I'd heard some of his stuff, and we really wanted a more metal sound for this album. Like we started off in almost like a skate punk vibe when we began writing, and we wanted to bring an edge, a metal edge to this that I thought that of all the people to work with, it would be Joe. Like his wheelhouse is metal, and I feel like he really brought the darker sound really well into this album. And even taking our older songs, he helped us, gave us some suggestions for darkening the sound, especially with vocals. A lot more screams on this than I used to do, and just sort of pushing that edge a little bit for it. So it now sounds a little bit more thrashy than it does skate punk on some tracks. Yeah,
which is crazy, because when I listen to the record, I'm wondering if I'm on the right interview right now, because I don't hear anything skate punk on the record. But
yeah, no, for sure. Like if you were to go back to a couple of years ago when we were writing stuff like I'm allowed to swear in this?
Yeah.
Okay. On songs like Fucking Relentless, that one originally sounded more like punky, like fast skate punk kind of stuff. And now it sounds far more metal, far more aggressive than it did before. Like our shows used to be we would fit in with bands like Such Gold and Living with Lions and stuff like that. We did a couple of shows like that. But towards the later part of our actually doing shows, we started doing shows with like far heavier bands. Like we did a show with Venom Prison, which is insanely heavy, much heavier than us. But I found like since our sound is darkening and darkening and darkening, we sort of fit a little bit better into that mold. We're a bit more versatile now, which is nice.
I'm trying to. There's a nebulous cloud in my head right now, Matt, of a question that I want to ask, and I've got to shoot it out. We're gonna have a big bang right here on the show, and it's just boom.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. I guess what was the crux point or the trigger point where you guys said, "Man, we really want to be darker and heavier, but every time we pick up the guitar, skate punk comes out," and then you got this guy involved, and all of a sudden, your vision came to life. That's sort of my nebulous cloud, and I hope that makes sense as a question.
Yeah, and we sort of like when we met Joe, and I knew going into this, I had sort of pushed the idea of working with Joe for a while, just because I found that our sound kept getting a little bit heavier and heavier over time. Like if you listen to something like Malicious Compliance, that is probably the heaviest track on the album. And that it's just an assault. And we already were going heavier, but to capture that sound, Joe really was sort of the epicenter of that. Like going in to see him, like he found the guitar tones that worked the best, found that crunchy bass for Ryan. You know what I mean? And of course, Chris Nunn, the drummer, he joined the band in 2018, and he roomed with Eric Marotti for a while. And Eric Marotti is a stellar drummer. He drums with Suffocation and Clitoris, and he's a beast. And he taught Chris some of the more heavier aspects, and so even Chris helped propel us into that heavier sound as well.
Okay. Very cool.
I'm not sure if I answered your question, but there's some info for you.
I like info. Info's good.
Excellent.
One last question, and that is,
yes.
I got the menu up right now for the Coven.
Oh, yeah.
That's cool. The 80s never get old, and they have foods of band names.
I know.
Like Megadeth and Metallica. That's super cool.
Yeah.
That's kind of funny. Is it good? What's your favorite menu item?
I think if I'm remembering correctly, because I often get them mixed up with what the meals actually are, I think it's Machine Head.
Okay, I gotta find it.
Oh, there it is.
There it is. It's a grilled cheese with Cajun chicken, Swiss cheese, roasted red peppers, and sun-dried tomatoes.
Whoa,
That's the one.
That's a big meal right there.
That's the one. It's pretty good.
Yeah,
their food is awesome, actually. They got great cooks there.
Okay, good.
It looks
Because something like this could easily go the wrong way, man.
this looks cool. It's like all their...
Yeah, truly.
It's like almost all their foods have band names in them.
They do.
Every single one, yeah.
Okay, second question. Did you work with Lisa at all when you said you were working on vocals? Did you work with Lisa?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did. She's phenomenal. And she's from a band called Sovereign Council, and they're a bit more melodic than A Scar for the Wicked. Now, so Joe is in both bands, and Lisa is Joe's partner.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm on their website.
She's amazing. She helped with a few things in terms of basically, I had never done vocals like this before because I didn't realize the amount of time and energy it took to record vocals. And so I'm in the studio for hours and hours at a time screaming or singing into a microphone and going from operatics to growls and high-pitched screams and everything like that. it was like I needed coaching here and there. I'm like, okay, so how am I going to do this and go back and forth and without blowing a gasket, as it were. And she was really, really helpful and sort of coaching me through like what I should be doing, because my background is opera.
Okay.
I trained in opera growing up, and so I know technique, but it's a very different beast entirely to be doing like the kind of screaming that I do on the album, like and switching it up. So yeah, she was, shall we say, instrumental in helping me get through it.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, that sounds like it was probably... What's up? What's going on?
That's insane.
What's insane?
Tune is in Dance Gavin Dance.
Sorry, what? What's going
That
on?
Tune song?
Yeah?
Tune Pearson, that's the guy who made it.
Oh.
He's
Okay.
in the band.
Oh, he's in... Oh, okay. Well, then I guess that makes sense. Yep, there he is right there. Look at that. So to make a short story long, so you're not so confused, Matt, is there was something I was looking up that led me to Dance Gavin Dance, which, if anybody who doesn't know, they're a hardcore band from California, and we just finished watching a program that we subscribe to called Nail the Mix, where we get tracks from bands and we sit with the producer or mix engineer and go over how they mixed and mastered the record, answer questions about how they produced the record.
And one of them was Tune Pearson.
So one of the guys that we just watched was Sam Guyana out of Toronto, and Sam Guyana works with Dance Gavin Dance, so I recognize that. And then we are about to watch one with Tillin, and I had never heard of Tillin before. Super poppy, Jamiroquai type stuff. But But it turns out he's a singer for Dance Gavin Dance, and this kind of shows how disconnected I am from the world in general, but how I'm making those connections.
Neat.
Yeah,
that's very cool.
Yeah, and then I've got a bunch of, but I've got all the websites up to take a look at Joe Lyko, the band Sovereign Council, the vocal instruction, because I talk to a lot of bands, and sometimes I get questions like, we're looking for a producer, we're looking for a vocal coach, we're looking for a guest vocal spot, we're looking for a music video, and a lot of people are finding these people on Fiverr or something, but if I can shoot somebody to some place, I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sweet. All right. Well, we've chatted about the 8 Pillars of Buddhism. We've chatted about Zinfandel. We've chatted about the Coven. We've chatted about the record. We've chatted about As We Suffer. Nail the Mix.
Yep.
And my next call seems to be nowhere, but they're French Canadian, so that makes sense. They'll probably be here. And just kidding. There they are, actually. Wow, they heard me.
That was amazing timing.
Yeah. That was good. And his name is also Matthew, but it's Mathieu, or however you say it in French.
Mathieu.
Mathieu. Mais oui.
Mais oui.
That's right. Tabernacle. Okay. So, thank you so much for coming on to the show, Matt.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hello, or should I say goodbye? Thank you so much for listening to the Rock Metal Podcast. I've been your host, John Harris. Please head over to our website at www.therockmetalpodcast.ca. There you can sign up for our newsletter and find out more information about today's show.